She begged for help for less than 60 seconds, and in that minute, an entire hospital lost everything. Rain hammered the glass doors of St. Matthew Regional Hospital like a warning no one wanted to hear. Inside the emergency lobby, fluorescent lights buzzed above polished tile floors, casting a pale glow over rows of tired faces, restless children, and people clutching paperwork they hoped might save them. The scent of sanitizer floated through the air, sharp and cold, mixing with burnt coffee from a machine in the corner. It was nearly 9:40 p.m., the kind of hour when exhaustion makes compassion disappear. Angela Brooks stood near the reception desk with one hand pressed against her lower stomach and the other gripping the strap of her overnight bag. She was 32 years old, 8 months pregnant, and trying with every ounce of strength not to let fear show on her face. Her navy maternity coat was soaked from the storm outside. Damp curls clung to her temples. She had walked from the parking garage because no one answered the curbside assistant's phone. "Have a seat," the receptionist said without looking up. Her fingers kept moving across the keyboard. "Someone will call your name." Angela inhaled slowly. "I think something's wrong. The baby hasn't moved much in the last hour." The receptionist nodded the way people nod when they are listening to none of your words. "Please take a seat." Around her, monitors beeped behind swinging doors. A television mounted high in the corner played a game show no one was watching. Somewhere down the hall, wheels rattled across linoleum. Life kept moving. Angela felt another tightening sensation ripple through her body, not sharp, but wrong. Deep. Heavy. She lowered herself into a plastic chair and glanced at the framed photo on her phone lock screen. It showed a nursery-painted soft green, a white crib Marcus had assembled himself, and a stuffed elephant sitting proudly in the corner. They had spent 6 weekends building that room. Marcus had argued with directions, laughed at crooked shelves, kissed her forehead every time she got tired. "Our little man's going to love this place," he had said. Angela swallowed hard and rubbed her stomach gently. "Stay with me, baby." 10 minutes passed. Then 15. A woman who arrived after her with a sprained wrist was already called inside. A man coughing into a tissue was escorted through the double doors with apologies for the delay. Angela stood again and approached the desk, slower this time. "Please," she said softly. "Can someone just check the baby's heartbeat?" The receptionist finally looked up, then toward the hallway where Dr. Ethan Cole was walking past in a pressed white coat, tablet in hand. Tall, clean-cut, expensive watch gleaming under the lights. The receptionist raised her voice. "Doctor? She says she needs to be seen." Dr. Cole barely slowed. His eyes skimmed Angela, then moved on. If she were critical, triage would know. His tone was flat, practiced, efficient. "Have her wait." He kept walking. Angela blinked as if she had misheard him. "Doctor," but he was already through the doors. The room fell back into its ordinary rhythm, which somehow felt crueler than shouting. Angela returned to her chair. She placed both hands over her stomach now. The baby was still quiet. Too quiet. Then the overhead speaker crackled. "Code blue, 3rd floor." Staff rushed past her without seeing her. A janitor pushed a mop bucket around the edge of her shoes. The television audience laughed at a joke no one in the lobby heard. Angela leaned forward, breathing carefully, fighting the tremble in her chest. She looked at the clock on the wall. 9:58 p.m. She reached for her phone and called the one person who never ignored her. "Marcus," she whispered when he answered. "I need you here now." Angela kept the phone pressed to her ear long after the call ended, as if holding it there could bring Marcus through the storm faster. The screen dimmed in her hand. No new movement came from the child she had been speaking to all evening. Around her, the lobby remained strangely calm, the kind of calm that only exists when someone else is carrying the fear. A teenager laughed softly at a video on his phone. A vending machine hummed near the wall. Rainwater dripped from umbrellas onto the floor mat by the entrance. Angela checked the clock again. 10:03 p.m. 5 more minutes had passed like an hour. She rose slowly and walked back to the desk, one careful step at a time. "Please," she said, her voice thinner now. "I need someone to help me." The receptionist sighed and reached for a clipboard. "Name: Angela Brooks. I already checked in." "Then you need to wait until your name is called." "My baby is not moving." That sentence finally caused the woman to glance up, but only for a second. If there was an emergency, triage would know. Angela stared at her. It was the same sentence in a different voice. The same wall with a different face. Behind the desk, Nurse Melissa Grant stepped out from a hallway carrying a stack of charts. She was in her 40s, tired eyes, ponytail slipping loose after a long shift. She noticed Angela's expression and slowed down. "How long since movement?" she asked quietly. Angela turned with visible relief. "Almost 2 hours. Maybe more. I thought it was because I was walking, but now," her voice faded. Melissa set the charts down. "Did anyone put you on a monitor?" Angela shook her head. Melissa looked toward the desk, then toward the hallway where Dr. Cole had disappeared. Something tightened in her jaw. "Have a seat 1 more minute," she said softly. "I will see what I can do." For the first time that night, someone sounded human. Angela lowered herself back into the chair and watched Melissa move quickly through the doors. 30 seconds later, raised voices echoed faintly from the corridor. Not shouting. Tense. Controlled. Then silence. Then Melissa returned alone. She did not meet Angela's eyes right away. "I am sorry," she said. "We are full right now." Angela almost laughed, not because anything was funny, but because the words felt impossible. Full. Melissa leaned closer. "Listen to me. If pain increases, if you feel dizzy, if anything changes, tell me immediately." She slipped a folded packet into Angela's hand. Crackers. Apple juice. A small act of kindness in a place built for larger ones. "Thank you," Angela whispered. Melissa gave a brief nod and walked away before anyone noticed. Angela opened the crackers but could not eat. Her stomach felt hollow and heavy at the same time. She looked around the lobby and noticed something she had missed before. Every person being called through those doors had someone with them. A husband. A mother. A friend carrying a bag. Everyone except her. Marcus had been at a zoning meeting downtown when she called. He said he was 10 minutes away. Then 8. Then 7. She knew he would break every speed limit in Chicago if he had to. Another tightening sensation rolled through her, stronger this time. She gripped the armrest and breathed through it, eyes closed. When it passed, the overhead light seemed brighter than before. Her phone buzzed. Marcus, pulling in now. Angela exhaled so deeply it almost sounded like a sob. Across the lobby, the glass doors opened. Wind rushed in with the rain. A tall man in a dark overcoat stepped inside, water on his shoulders, urgency in his stride. He scanned the room once and saw her immediately. Some people walk into buildings. Others change the air the moment they enter. Marcus Brooks was the second kind. Angela tried to stand, but he was already beside her, kneeling in front of the chair. "Angie," he said, eyes searching her face. "How long have they left you here?" She answered with the truth that would cost someone everything. "Too long." Marcus did not raise his voice. He did not pound the desk or demand attention the way frightened people sometimes do when fear turns into noise. He simply stood, removed his wet coat, placed it over Angela's shoulders, and looked toward the reception counter with the steady focus of a man who had already decided what came next. "You are freezing," he said softly. "I am fine," Angela whispered. "The baby is not moving." That changed his face. Not into panic. Into precision. He turned to the desk and walked there with calm steps that somehow made everyone nearby stop talking. My wife checked in over 20 minutes ago, he said. She is 8 months pregnant and reporting decreased fetal movement. Who is supervising triage tonight? The receptionist, suddenly aware of her own posture, straightened in her chair. Sir, we are doing the best we can. That was not my question. His tone never rose above conversational, but the air around the desk sharpened. Who is supervising triage tonight? She glanced toward the back hallway. Dr. Cole is lead physician. Marcus nodded once. Then please let Dr. Cole know that Marcus Brooks would like to speak with him immediately. The receptionist typed something quickly, perhaps to look busy, perhaps to avoid eye contact. Sir, you will need to wait. Marcus looked at the wall clock. 10:11 p.m. No, he said quietly. My wife has already done enough waiting. Behind the desk, Nurse Melissa reappeared and recognized Angela at once. Her eyes moved to Marcus, then back to Angela's pale expression. What happened? She asked. Nothing, Angela said. That is the problem, Marcus replied. Melissa hesitated only a second. Bring her with me. She led them through the swinging doors into a narrow assessment room lined with supply cabinets and softly blinking machines. It was not much, but it was care, and tonight that made it sacred. Angela eased onto the bed while Melissa wrapped a blood pressure cuff around her arm and reached for a portable monitor. I am not supposed to do this without authorization, she murmured. Then tonight, Marcus said, you are doing the right thing. Melissa placed gel on Angela's stomach and moved the monitor probe gently. The room filled with static. She adjusted once. Twice. Again. Her professional calm flickered. Angela gripped Marcus's hand so tightly he felt her nails through his skin. Say something, Angela whispered. Melissa swallowed and repositioned the probe one more time. Then at last, a rapid rhythmic sound burst through the speaker. Fast. Small. Alive. Angela covered her mouth with trembling fingers. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Marcus closed his eyes for one brief second, gratitude and anger colliding behind them. There you are, Angela whispered toward her stomach. Melissa let out a breath she had been holding. Heart rate is present, she said. But she needs a full obstetric evaluation now. Then let us do that, Marcus replied. Before Melissa could answer, the door opened. Dr. Ethan Cole stepped inside, tablet in hand, expression already annoyed. What is going on here? He asked. Melissa straightened. Patient reported reduced fetal movement. I began an initial check. Dr. Cole looked at Angela, then at Marcus, then at the monitor. Without clearance. With urgency, Marcus said. Dr. Cole ignored him. Nurse Grant, step outside. Melissa hesitated. Doctor, she needs to be seen. Now. The single word landed like a slammed door. Melissa glanced apologetically at Angela and left the room. Dr. Cole tapped on his tablet, never once asking Angela how she felt. Vitals are stable enough, he said. There are multiple critical cases ahead of you. Marcus stared at him. My wife said the baby stopped moving. And now there is movement. Dr. Cole shrugged lightly. Sometimes anxiety presents as emergency. Angela looked down as if the sentence itself had weight. Marcus stepped closer, still composed. Tell me your full name. Dr. Cole finally met his eyes. Why? Marcus's answer came cold and clear. Because in 5 minutes, everyone above you is going to ask me what happened in this room. For a moment, the room became so quiet that even the monitor seemed louder. Dr. Ethan Cole stared at Marcus as if trying to place him in some familiar category. Angry husband. Difficult family member. Another person demanding more than the system wished to give. But Marcus did not fit any of them. He stood with one hand resting near Angela's shoulder, the other already reaching for his phone. Calm people are often mistaken for powerless ones. Dr. Cole gave a short laugh that carried no warmth. "Sir, if this is a threat, security can escort you out." "If this were a threat," Marcus replied, unlocking his phone, "you would know." He tapped once, then held the device to his ear. "Connect me to Samuel Reed." Dr. Cole's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Samuel Reed was not a name patients casually requested. He was the regional executive administrator whose framed photo hung in the main hallway beside donors and board members. "Mr. Reed is unavailable at this hour," Dr. Cole said quickly. Marcus did not look at him. "He will answer." Angela watched her husband with tired eyes. She had seen this side of him only a few times. Not anger. Not ego. The version of Marcus that appeared when something sacred had been mishandled. Family. Integrity. Trust. The phone clicked. "Marcus," came a voice through the speaker. "I am at St. Matthew Regional," Marcus said. "My wife has been denied urgent maternal care for over 30 minutes. She reported decreased fetal movement. A nurse acted without authorization because no physician would. I am standing in assessment room 3 with Dr. Ethan Cole." Silence followed. Then Samuel Reed spoke again, voice suddenly sharper. "Stay where you are." Marcus lowered the phone. "He is on his way." Dr. Cole folded his arms. "You expect me to believe the regional administrator is driving here because you made a complaint?" "No," Marcus said. "He is coming because I called." Outside the room, footsteps moved faster than before. Doors opened. Closed. Whispers traveled down the corridor like sparks. Nurse Melissa returned carrying fresh supplies, her eyes widening when she saw Dr. Cole still standing there. "We need to transfer her upstairs," she said. "Now." Dr. Cole turned. "I did not authorize that." "You no longer need to," Marcus said. Dr. Cole's jaw tightened. "You do not run this hospital." Marcus finally looked directly at him. "That is the first accurate thing you have said tonight." Angela almost smiled despite the fear pressing on her chest. Another contraction like tightening rolled through her. Melissa noticed immediately and moved to the bedside. "Breathe with me," she said gently. "Slow in. Slow out." She checked the monitor again, then looked toward the door. "We are done waiting." Across the hall, 2 administrators in suits hurried past, followed by a security supervisor adjusting his tie. Phones were ringing now at desks that had been silent an hour ago. Staff members who had not seen Angela in the lobby suddenly remembered how to move quickly. Dr. Cole stepped aside, irritated more than concerned. "This is absurd," he muttered. "One complaint and everyone loses perspective." Marcus slipped his phone into his pocket. "No, doctor." Perspective was lost when a mother asked for help and became invisible. Those words hung in the room harder than shouting ever. "Could." Melissa began wheeling Angela's bed toward the doorway. As they entered the hall, heads turned from every station. Some with curiosity. Some with embarrassment. Some with the dawning realization that they had witnessed something larger than a delay. At the far end of the corridor, elevator doors opened. Samuel Reed strode out in a raincoat over business clothes, hair still damp from the storm, flanked by 2 members of the overnight operations team. He did not look at anyone first. He looked for Marcus. Then he saw Angela on the moving bed. His face changed instantly. He walked straight past Dr. Cole without acknowledging him and stopped beside Angela. "Mrs. Brooks," he said, voice low and respectful. "I am deeply sorry." Then he turned to the hallway staff and delivered the sentence that made the entire floor freeze. "Lock down all administrative access points. No one leaves until I know exactly who failed this patient." The hallway moved like a machine that had suddenly remembered its purpose. Nurses appeared with fresh linens, transport staff cleared paths, supervisors whispered into headsets, and doors that had stayed closed all night swung open one after another. Angela was rolled toward labor and delivery under bright ceiling lights that seemed harsher now, exposing every face that had looked past her before. Marcus walked beside the bed, one hand resting near hers, matching the speed of the wheels. He did not look left or right. He did not need to. The people around him were already looking at him. Samuel Reed kept pace on the other side, speaking rapidly into a phone. I want time-stamped intake records, triage logs, camera footage from the lobby, and all badge access data from 9:30 onward, he said. Now. Behind them, Dr. Ethan Cole followed several steps back, no longer leading anything. The confidence he wore earlier had thinned into irritation, then uncertainty. This is excessive, he said toward Samuel. There was no medical emergency. Samuel stopped walking so abruptly that everyone behind him slowed. He turned without raising his voice. Doctor, if the only reason there was no tragedy tonight is because a nurse broke protocol to check a mother who had been ignored, then the emergency was not medical. It was institutional. No one answered. Angela closed her eyes as another wave of discomfort passed through her. Melissa squeezed her shoulder gently. We are almost there, she said. Stay with me. They entered a private labor suite on the 4th floor, a room far different from the waiting area downstairs. Warm lights. Soft grey walls. Monitors already prepared. A rocking chair in the corner beside a bassinet wrapped in plastic. It looked like the kind of room families remembered forever. Angela looked around and almost laughed at the contrast. 30 minutes earlier, she had been invisible. Now 6 people were adjusting pillows. Melissa attached monitors properly this time, and the steady rhythm of the baby filled the room again. Stronger now. Angela exhaled in relief so deep it shook her shoulders. Marcus leaned down and kissed her forehead. You hear that? He whispered. He is letting us know he is stubborn like his mother. For the first time all night, she smiled. Outside the room, voices rose and fell in the corridor. The kind of voices people use when consequences have entered the building. Samuel stepped just outside the door to take another call, then returned moments later with a folder tablet in hand. Marcus, he said carefully, I need to say this directly. We did not know she was your wife. Marcus looked at him with a calm expression that made the sentence sound smaller than it was. That is exactly the problem. Samuel lowered his eyes. Understood. He glanced toward Angela. Mrs. Brooks, your care team is now under direct review oversight. Anything you need, you ask. Angela nodded politely, too tired to answer more. Samuel turned toward the doorway. And Dr. Cole? Marcus asked. Samuel paused. Administrative suspension pending investigation. From the hall came the sound of a badge scanner, then a sharp denial tone. Someone had just learned their access no longer worked. Marcus said nothing. He simply returned his attention to Angela. Minutes later, an older obstetrician entered the room, silver-haired, composed, glasses low on her nose. I am Dr. Linda Mercer, she said. I should have been here earlier, and I am sorry that I was not. She reviewed the monitor, checked Angela gently, then smiled. Baby looks good. Mother looks exhausted. We're going to take excellent care of both. Angela's eyes filled again, but this time not from fear. Dr. Mercer pulled up a stool. Tell me everything from the beginning. While Angela spoke, Marcus looked through the glass panel into the hallway below. Staff moved faster tonight than they had in years. Phones rang. Executives arrived. Doors opened. Policies would be quoted before sunrise. But none of that mattered as much as the simple truth in the room behind him, one heartbeat steady, one mother safe, and one system finally forced to see what it had ignored. Then his phone buzzed. A message from Samuel Reed read only 6 words. Board members are requesting your presence. Marcus read the message once, then locked his phone and slipped it back into his pocket. Board members are requesting your presence. In most buildings, that sentence would sound like power. Tonight it sounded like panic. He looked at Angela, who was finally resting against fresh pillows while Dr. Mercer reviewed charts beside the monitor. The room had softened. Rain tapped gently against the windows. The heartbeat on the speaker was steady and reassuring now, the most important sound in the hospital. "You should go," Angela said quietly. Marcus shook his head at once. "No, Marcus." She reached for his hand. "I know that look. If you stay in this room while they scramble outside, you will still be out there in your mind." He almost smiled. She knew him too well. "I am not leaving for long," he said. "Then do what you came here to do," Angela replied. "Make sure the next woman never waits downstairs." Those words landed deeper than any demand could have. Marcus bent, kissed her forehead again, and turned to Dr. Mercer. "If anything changes, I want to know immediately." "You will," she said. "Now go be useful somewhere else." The executive conference suite on the 6th floor had never been meant for emergencies. It was designed for donor dinners, polished presentations, and carefully managed optimism. Floor to ceiling. Windows overlooked the city skyline. Leather chairs surrounded a long walnut table. Abstract art hung on walls where no one had ever waited for test results. But tonight the room was crowded with men and women who looked suddenly smaller than their titles. Board members, legal counsel, finance officers, operations directors. Samuel Reed stood near the screen at the front, sleeves rolled up for the first time in his professional life. Conversations died the moment Marcus entered. Some people rose instinctively. Others avoided his eyes. At the far end of the table sat Eleanor Whitmore, chair of the governing board, silver-haired, immaculate, known across 3 states for turning failing institutions profitable. She gestured to the empty seat beside her. "Marcus." He remained standing. "I am fine where I am." She accepted the correction with a nod. "Then let us begin honestly. Tonight was unacceptable." Marcus looked around the room. "Tonight was ordinary," he said. "That is why you should be concerned." Silence followed, heavy and complete. Samuel tapped the screen, displaying timestamps from the emergency department. Check-in, 9:37 p.m. First documented nurse contact, 10:12 p.m. Escalation after external intervention, 10:18 p.m. Eleanor removed her glasses slowly. "How many similar delays?" she asked. No one answered. Samuel changed slides. Complaint trends. Staffing shortages. Risk reports deferred for budget review. Patient satisfaction gaps by demographic category. Patterns hidden in charts until someone forced them into daylight. Marcus did not move. "You asked me here because you think this is about my wife," he said. "It is not. Angela is receiving care now. This is about every person who did not have someone to call." A younger board member cleared his throat. "We can issue a statement by morning." Marcus turned toward him. "Statements are what people make when they prefer sound over change." The man looked down at his notes. Eleanor folded her hands. "Then tell us what change looks like." Marcus took a breath and answered without drama. "Immediate independent review of triage procedures. Mandatory maternal emergency response retraining. Community oversight seats on this board. Transparent monthly metrics. Protected reporting channels for staff. And every executive bonus frozen until those numbers improve." Several heads lifted sharply. Money always hears faster than conscience. Legal counsel leaned forward. "That would be expensive." "So is failure," Marcus said. Samuel's phone buzzed. He checked it, then looked up with a stunned expression. "Local media has picked up scanner traffic. They know something happened tonight." Eleanor closed her folder. "Then we have 1 hour before this becomes public." Marcus finally took a seat, not because he had been offered one, but because the room had become a workplace instead of a throne room. "Good," he said. "Pressure is often the first honest consultant." Downstairs, monitors still echoed with a child's heartbeat. Upstairs, another kind of pulse had begun. The frantic one that starts when people realize accountability has entered the building and intends to stay. By 11:07 p.m., the conference room no longer sounded like leadership. It sounded like damage control. Phones vibrated against polished wood. Assistants moved in and out with printed reports no one had wanted to read last month. Outside the windows, Chicago glowed under rain clouds, unaware that one hospital was learning how quickly silence can become scandal. Marcus sat at the center now, not because anyone appointed him there, but because every sentence in the room kept circling back to him. Eleanor Whitmore studied him across folded hands. "There is something the board should formally acknowledge," she said. "Most of them do not know your current position." Several heads turned. Marcus gave a faint look of impatience. "My position tonight is husband." "And beyond tonight?" she asked. Samuel Reed answered before Marcus could. "Mr. Brooks is managing partner of Northgate Civic Capital." The room shifted instantly. Some people knew the name. Others knew it only after hearing the tone attached to it. Northgate Civic Capital had become one of the most aggressive healthcare reform investment groups in the Midwest, buying distressed systems, restructuring governance, and forcing accountability where boards had grown comfortable. Samuel continued, voice careful now. At 8 o'clock this morning, Northgate finalized controlling interest in the Street Matthew network. A younger executive nearly dropped his pen. Controlling interest. Eleanor nodded once. Effective immediately. Marcus said nothing. He had never needed introductions to do what mattered. But titles change how some people hear truth. 30 minutes earlier, they saw an upset spouse. Now they saw the man who could replace them before sunrise. "You own this hospital?" the finance director asked quietly. Marcus looked at him. "No. Communities do. I simply hold paper that lets me clean up what others neglected." No one wrote that down, though they all remembered it. Samuel changed the screen again. New agenda items appeared, interim leadership actions. Emergency governance measures. Public response plan. Per acquisition authority, he said, Mr. Brooks may recommend immediate operational changes pending board ratification. Recommend? Marcus asked. Eleanor exhaled. Approve, if necessary. Down the table, legal counsel adjusted his glasses. We should be cautious with overnight decisions. Marcus turned toward him. A pregnant woman waited in pain while caution protected everyone except the patient. I am not interested in more cautious delays. He slid a single sheet of paper across the table. Samuel read it first, then passed it on. Temporary closure of emergency intake for 1 hour. Redirect ambulances to partner facilities. Full internal audit sweep. Independent maternal safety task force. Administrative suspension of triage leadership, including Dr. Ethan Cole. Mandatory bias and response review for all frontline supervisors. The room reacted in stages. First surprise. Then resistance. Then the realization that resistance had arrived too late. You cannot shut down emergency intake on a Friday night, one board member said. Watch me, Marcus replied, calm as weather. Eleanor looked at Samuel. Can partner hospitals absorb the load? For 60 minutes, yes. Then do it. She turned back to Marcus. Anything else? He thought of Angela downstairs in a room she should have received from the beginning. He thought of women who came alone, elderly men who apologized for being sick, workers who delayed treatment because they feared the bill more than the pain. Yes, he said. Erase executive parking by morning. Convert it to patient-family access. Someone almost laughed, then realized he was serious. Samuel was already typing. Across the city, ambulances were being rerouted. Security teams were collecting badge access logs. Department heads were being called out of bed. In the labor suite below, Angela listened to her baby's heartbeat and did not yet know the full truth. Her husband had not merely gotten someone's attention. He had just paused an entire hospital. Marcus stood. I need to go back to my wife. Eleanor rose with him. Marcus. He stopped. You could have announced who you were in the lobby and spared yourself all of this. He met her gaze without anger. That would have spared me, he said. I came here to expose what happens to people who cannot. Then he walked out, leaving a room full of titles to learn the difference between authority and character. When Marcus stepped back onto the 4th floor, the hospital no longer felt like the same building. The hallways were cleaner somehow, though nothing physical had changed. It was the posture of people that had shifted. Nurses walked faster. Supervisors spoke softer. Doors opened before anyone reached them. Fear can move an institution quickly, but dignity is what determines whether it stays changed. Marcus entered Angela's room quietly. She was sitting upright now, wrapped in a warm blanket, sipping water through a straw while Dr. Linda Mercer reviewed the latest monitor strip. The baby's heartbeat filled the room with a steady confidence that made every machine sound gentler. Angela looked up and read his face instantly. What happened? She asked. Marcus loosened his tie and gave the smallest smile. Paperwork. Angela laughed for the first time that night, a tired laugh that still carried light. That means chaos. Only organized chaos, he said. Dr. Mercer glanced between them. Whatever you did upstairs, keep doing it. I just got approval for staffing requests I have filed for 6 months. Marcus nodded. Then tonight is already useful. A soft knock came at the door. Samuel Reed entered with no entourage this time. In his hands was a simple folder and an expression stripped of executive polish. Mrs. Brooks, he said, I wanted to speak to you directly before the morning turns this into something public. Angela set down her cup. You can speak. Samuel stepped closer. Dr. Ethan Cole has been placed on indefinite suspension pending full review. Triage leadership has been replaced effective immediately. We have paused emergency intake for 1 hour to audit response failures and retrain overnight command staff. Angela listened quietly. And Nurse Melissa, she asked. Samuel seemed surprised. She is being recognized formally for patient advocacy and promoted to interim charge supervisor for the unit tonight. Angela smiled. Good. Samuel handed the folder to Marcus, who opened it briefly. Internal directives. Signatures. Immediate action orders. But tucked inside was another sheet. A draft public statement emphasizing commitment, values, future improvement. Marcus slid it back. No, Samuel frowned. No. No polished apology before private repair, Marcus said. Do the work first. Speak later. Samuel lowered his head once. Understood. After he left, Angela watched Marcus carefully. You are still angry? Yes. At them, she asked. He looked at the monitor where their son's heartbeat continued like a metronome. At how normal this was. Angela reached for his hand again. Then promise me something. Anything. Do not only punish tonight. Change tomorrow. Those words settled over him heavier than any board resolution. Before he could answer, the door opened again. Melissa stepped in, now wearing a new badge clipped hastily to her scrubs. Her eyes were red, though she was smiling. I came to check on my favorite patient. Angela held out both hands. Come here. Melissa laughed softly and stepped closer. I just wanted to say I am sorry for what happened downstairs. You helped when it mattered, Angela said. That is what I will remember. Melissa glanced at Marcus. And I wanted to say, most people with power announce it first. Marcus shook his head. Then they never learn what happens without it. Down in the lobby, maintenance crews were removing ropes that had blocked family parking spaces for executives. On the emergency floor, supervisors were rechecking intake protocols line by line. In offices above, board members were cancelling bonuses they once assumed were guaranteed. News vans had begun gathering across the street, their lights reflecting in puddles. But in room for 12, none of that mattered as much as a mother resting, a child safe, and a nurse who had chosen conscience over convenience. Dr. Mercer checked the screen again and smiled. "Good news," she said. "No signs of distress now. Looks like this little boy plans to keep everyone awake for many years." Angela leaned back and closed her eyes. Marcus sat beside her and listened to the heartbeat that had changed an entire building. Sometimes systems collapse loudly. Sometimes they begin to change because one woman was finally heard. By dawn, the rain had stopped. Chicago rose slowly under a pale silver sky, streets shining from the storm, traffic beginning again as if nothing unusual had happened overnight. But inside St. Matthew Regional Hospital, nothing was the same. The lobby where Angela had once sat unnoticed now held new signage, additional intake nurses, and a supervisor stationed beside the front desk whose only task was to make sure no patient waited unseen. The executive parking entrance had been reopened to families before sunrise. Fresh coffee replaced the stale machine brew. Even the lights felt warmer. Change often arrives disguised as small details. In room for 12, Angela woke to sunlight resting across the blanket at her feet. Marcus was asleep in the chair beside her, tie loosened, one hand still resting near the bed as if even in sleep he intended to guard the room. She smiled softly and looked toward the monitor. Their son's heartbeat remained steady and sure. A quiet knock came at the door before it opened. Dr. Linda Mercer entered carrying a tablet and the kind of smile doctors wear when they finally get to bring good news. "Mother looks better," she said. "Baby looks excellent. If things stay stable, I would like to keep you for observation today and send you home tomorrow." Angela exhaled in relief. Marcus opened one eye immediately. "I was awake," he said. Dr. Mercer laughed. "Of course you were." She handed Angela a printed image from the overnight ultrasound. A tiny profile. A small hand near a face. Proof that fear had not won. Angela stared at it with tears gathering all over again. "He has your forehead," Marcus said. "Poor child." Later that morning, Samuel Reed returned with Eleanor Whitmore and 2 board members. No cameras. No publicists. No speeches prepared by legal teams. Samuel carried a simple bouquet of white lilies. Eleanor carried a folder thick enough to matter. "Mrs. Brooks," Eleanor said, standing at the foot of the bed, "we came to apologize without excuses." Angela nodded once, inviting honesty and nothing more. Eleanor opened the folder. Effective immediately, permanent maternal rapid response protocols, expanded overnight obstetric staffing, community oversight appointments, anonymous staff reporting channels, mandatory equity and patient dignity training, and a patient advocate stationed in emergency intake 24 hours a day. She placed the folder on the table. "And these reforms will carry your name if you permit it." Angela looked at Marcus, then back at Eleanor. "Do not name it after me," she said softly. "Name it after the women who came here alone." No one in the room forgot that answer. Samuel cleared his throat. "There is one more matter. Media requests are intense. We can keep your names private if you wish." Marcus glanced at Angela. She answered first. "Keep us private. Make the changes public." Samuel nodded with visible respect. When they left, Melissa stepped in moments later wearing fresh scrubs and the new confidence of someone who had been seen. "I heard you turned down having a policy named after you," she said. Angela smiled. "I already have enough names. Wife. Mother. Tired." Melissa laughed and adjusted the blanket. "For what it is worth, the whole night shift is talking about you." "I hope they are talking about the checklist downstairs," Angela replied. By noon, news outlets reported sweeping overnight reforms at one of the city's largest hospital systems after an internal review exposed critical failures. They never used Angela's name. They never mentioned the woman in the lobby who whispered for help. But systems rarely change because of headlines. They changed because someone humanized the numbers. That afternoon, Marcus stood by the window holding the ultrasound photo while Angela rested. The city moved below them, busy and unaware. "You know," Angela said, eyes half closed, "you really did shut down a hospital." Marcus looked back at her and smiled gently. "No," he said. "They shut themselves down the moment they forgot how to care." He returned to her bedside, placed the photo on the table, and listened once more to the sound that had exposed an empire's weakness, one small heartbeat, steady as truth.